Get really fancy. Hyperfighting, favorites. A few of you did this. How bad could it be? We added a delete button. Let's just add a favorite button. It's going to be very similar. Add a favorite button. Again, I'm back in render item because it's responsible for building that whole LI, right? Putting all the spans in there, putting all the buttons in there. It's getting a little long, but we can always refactor later. So we'll do something very similar. Const fav button this time. Document.create element button. It's just another button. All right. Fav button dot text content. Favorite. Fav button. Let's go ahead and add an event listener. What are we listening for? We're listening for a click. What are we going to do? We'll probably do something very similar. We'll call an arrow function, and we'll call a method that we don't have yet. I'm going to call it toggle favorite because I'm going to make it turn it on or off. And I'll pass in the flick and the item again. That worked out pretty well for us last time. Now keep in mind, of course, the events are being passed into these arrow functions, right? You can put them in the list there if you want to. I'm showing you this because I showed the first class. If you have an argument that you're not using, but you want to put it in the list anyways, just so you know that it's there, it's kind of a convention to prefix the name with an underscore. That's just something the community has decided for an argument that you're not going to use. Just stick an underscore in front of its name. Another little piece of information about arrow functions, just a little syntactic shortcut. If an arrow function has one argument only, you don't need the parentheses. You're welcome to put them there if you do want to. And of course, if it has no argument, you still have to have the empty parentheses. If you want to, you could put underscore EV in there. You don't have to. Just so that you know that the event is in fact there. But we're not using it. All right, toggle favorite. How do we do it? Before I forget, because I just almost forgot, let's make sure this makes it onto the page. Item.append child fav button. It's called toggle favorite. It'll take the flick and the item. Never mind what it does just yet. Faved. Faved. We have our button. Clicking it does something, but not the right thing. So we need to do two things. We need to change it in the array, and we need to change it on the page. We'll again do the page first. You know what? No, this time let's do it the other way around because it's easier. We'll do it in the array first. So when we build our flick down here in handle submit, I'm just going to go ahead and add a field called favorite, set it to false, initialize it as false. If you didn't do this part, it's not that big a deal, but we may as well. So it'll be there on every flick. We'll just initialize it to false. Then inside toggle favorite, what do we do? Who made it work? A few of you. Catherine and there were more. Who made it work? Like you mean it. Let the whole world see you. Okay. Okay. We got the K's. We got these two. Who wants to answer the question? Andrew, what do you think? Who remembers what they did?
You could make an array of favorites, and then you can
like maintain a separate list.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how you could do it.
If I have a favorite property right on here, how can I just change that to true? Kindle? Make it the opposite of that. So flick.favorite, the flick's right there, right? So what if flick.favorite equals the opposite of what flick.favorite is right now? Flick.favorite equals not flick.favorite. The opposite of, right? Seems legit-ish. Let's try it out. Thor Ragnarok. Chris Hemsworth. Let's check out our array right now. This or app.flicks. Square bracket 0. Favorite false. Click my button. Favorite true. Click the button again. Favorite false. Totally works. Why not? Flick.favorite equals the opposite of flick.favorite. Totally works, yeah.
Why doesn't it change on the screen? Like,
I did. Oh, like here?
yeah, I can turn it there.
We never updated the LI, did we? We never did anything to redraw it. It's not just going to keep it. It's not going to automatically keep the array, the UI in sync with our array.
Then what would we have to do?
If only there were a dynamic JavaScript library that automatically keeps your UI in sync with the state of your data. Someone should invent that. Maybe Facebook should take a time machine a few years back and create something called React that does just that. But yeah, we're not using React yet, so no, it doesn't do that automatically. So the point is, we would actually have to like grab the text content and change it again. Yeah, it's not going to automatically keep the array and the thing in sync. Bummer. Yeah.
Is there any way to hide the word false without?
Yeah.
I just passed a separate. I have 2 items, one with false.
Let's have a look at this. So, we've span class favorite, right? So it's already, just because of the way we wrote render, you know where I'm going with this. Because of the way we wrote render property, it's already in a span with a class of favorite. So how about I go into my CSS, say span.favorite. You remember display block? How about display none? Thor R, Chris H. Not there anymore. Good question. But I have another question. Why does this work? Why does it update the array? I get it updates the object. Right? So my flick variable changed, but it actually changes it inside the array. I didn't have to change it and then splice it in. It just changed it. Yeah. Well, it is, but that doesn't make it magic. Yeah, that's not it. Anybody know what's going on here? Anybody know the CS vocabulary for what's going on here? Someone came up with this in the first class, which is actually like the first time in 6 boot camps that someone happened to just ask this question out of the blue. I'm going to explain it either way. There's 2 ways to pass arguments to functions in a lot of languages. You could pass it by value or pass it by reference. So, turns out in JavaScript, objects are always passed by reference. Always. You're not passing a copy of it. You're passing the original thing. Change it in one place, you change it in the other. Not true of strings and numbers and things like that. But it's true of objects. And arrays and functions, by the way, are objects. By way of demonstration, let's make an object here. What'd you have for breakfast today, Rich?
I had a banana.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I haven't had anything better. But
I like bananas. Sheesh. All right, so we've got this object, right? Let's make a new object. Food equals, food equals meals. Let's change food.breakfast. What'd you have for breakfast, Kelly? Granola bar. Meals.breakfast. What do you think? Granola bar. Food is not a copy of meals. Food is the very same object. It's not just when you pass it in as an argument to a function. Objects are always thrown around by references, by reference. Arrays, functions, same way. Kind of weird. That was a design decision made 20 years ago, and we have to deal with it. Yeah. That's a great question. What'd you do? To make a copy of an object is, believe it or not, a huge pain in the neck in JavaScript. ES6 made it way, way, way easier. We're going to do it next week, but I'll go ahead and I'll give you the quick answer just to answer the question, and then we'll actually explain it next week. But you could do this. Let's make stuff you eat equals. So we'll make a new object with the curly braces. And then there's a new operator in ESX called the spread operator, which is an ellipsis, 3 dots. And what that does is breaks up an object into each of its pieces, each of its separate properties. So if you do that inside a new object, literal, you end up with a copy. So you effectively copy an object by putting curly brace ... Also works with arrays if you use square brackets. So to prove it, stuff you eat, breakfast. What'd you have for breakfast, Rebecca? Apple. And let's check out meals. Still granola bar. Yeah.
So in the first 2 lines, where meals equals breakfast banana and then food equals meals, the object that has breakfast is bananas. Like you have the object right here. Is both the name food and meals pointing?
They're both pointing to the same object. So if you change one, you change them both. Exactly. It's not just a copy of it. It's not just a different object with breakfast banana. It's the exact same object, which is strange. It is a strange way to design a language. And it's not what we're used to from other languages. This is one of those things that makes people hate JavaScript because it doesn't work like the languages they're used to. But if you just understand it, then you can deal with it. And sometimes it actually makes it way easier. Like this was super easy because of this. But it's sort of unexpected. But every once in a while, that unexpected behavior is kind of a bonus for us. So now we can mark favorites in the array. But we haven't updated the page.